It was supposed to be a peaceful Saturday afternoon. The Johnson family had just moved into their new suburban home, a cozy cul-de-sac filled with manicured lawns, pastel houses, and friendly faces. Or so they thought. The air smelled of barbecue smoke and fresh-cut grass, laughter echoed through the backyard, and kids ran around with sparklers. But just beyond the white fence, someone was watching, frowning, and dialing 911. The neighbor, a woman named Karen Miller, didn't like what she saw. A group of black people in her neighborhood setting up a grill and playing music. It didn't feel right to her. She convinced herself it wasn't about race, that it was about noise or rules, but deep down, she knew she wouldn't have called the police if the family looked like her. As her call connected, she smiled with self-righteous confidence, certain she was protecting the neighborhood. She had no idea what storm she was about to unleash. The police sirens broke the calm like thunder. The music stopped. The laughter faded. The kids froze. The Johnsons looked at each other, confused and scared. They hadn't even unpacked all their boxes, yet already they were being judged for existing. Neighbors peeked out from their curtains as the flashing lights painted the quiet street red and blue. Fear crept into the air, an all-too-familiar feeling for the Johnson family. But this time things would not go as Karen expected. As the officers stepped out of their car, Karen stood by her driveway, arms folded, waiting for her "thank you." The officers approached the Johnson family cautiously, until one of them stopped mid-step, his eyes widening in disbelief. The man he was supposed to confront, Marcus Johnson, was no ordinary citizen. He was the new police chief, freshly transferred from another district. The irony hung heavy in the air. Karen's smirk slowly disappeared. Marcus had seen this before. Not the barbecue, but the prejudice, the assumptions, the fear masked as concern, the weaponization of authority. And now, he stood on the receiving end of it. His wife gently placed her hand on his arm, urging calm. The officer's posture changed quickly, their tone softening as realization hit. Karen's face turned pale when she heard one of the officers say, "Chief Johnson." "Sir, we didn't know." The crowd of neighbors whispered among themselves. Some felt embarrassed, others uncomfortable. Karen's confidence cracked, and for the first time she looked unsure. Marcus walked over to her, his presence steady, calm but commanding. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He simply looked her in the eye, his silence louder than any words could have been. The same silence that held centuries of injustice and dignity all at once. That moment stretched endlessly. The sirens faded, replaced by the sound of sizzling meat on the grill and the murmuring wind. Finally, Marcus turned to the officers and said, "Everything's fine here, gentlemen. Enjoy your weekend." It was both an order and a statement, a reminder that justice and dignity could coexist, even in the face of ignorance. The officers nodded, apologizing quietly before retreating. Karen wanted to disappear. Her neighbor's eyes burned holes through her. The same woman who called herself community protector had humiliated herself before everyone. But Marcus didn't shame her. Instead, he turned back to his family, picked up the tongs, and went right back to grilling. His children laughed again, his wife smiled, and the smell of barbecue once more filled the air. Peace had returned, but it carried a new weight. That evening, as the sun dipped below the rooftops, Karen stood at her window, watching. She saw Marcus lift his daughter onto his shoulders, laughing beneath the soft glow of string lights. She realized what she had tried to destroy was something beautiful: normalcy, joy, and belonging. Her guilt settled in her chest like a stone. She didn't sleep that night. Days later, Karen walked across the street clutching a pie awkwardly. The Johnson family was in their yard again. She hesitated, her voice small when she spoke. "I wanted to apologize." Marcus accepted the gesture with grace, but not indulgence. He nodded and thanked her politely. Forgiveness wasn't instant, nor was it owed, but it was a start. Word spread around the neighborhood. People began to reflect on their own biases, their silent judgments, their easy assumptions. The incident that began with a phone call had become a lesson in humanity, not through confrontation, but through character. Weeks later, at the town's community meeting, Marcus stood before the same people who had once doubted his presence. He spoke about unity, respect, and accountability, not with bitterness, but with hope. His words resonated deeply. Even Karen sat in the back, listening, humbled. For the first time, she saw beyond color. She saw a man, a father, a leader. When the meeting ended, applause filled the hall. And for a moment, the entire neighborhood seemed to breathe together, as if shedding a layer of ignorance. The same community that had once divided itself now had a chance to grow stronger. As Marcus drove home that night, his daughter asked why the neighbor had called the police. He paused, looking at her through the rearview mirror, and said softly, "Sometimes people fear what they don't understand, but we help them understand by showing them who we really are." It wasn't just a father's wisdom. It was a legacy of strength, patience, and quiet revolution. In the end, the barbecue that started with suspicion ended with transformation. The Johnsons didn't just move into a new home. They helped a community rediscover its conscience. And as for Karen, she never forgot the day. She called the police, only to find out that the man she feared was the very person sworn to protect her. Sometimes justice doesn't come from punishment. It comes from grace. And sometimes the most powerful statement is simply living your truth without apology.